Hey, everybody, how are you? And Happy New Year almost. If you have been following any of my things, you know that this is my very favorite time of year, not because of the holidays, but because you're sitting there and your year is behind you and a year is in front of you, and you get to hit the reset button. You get to have a do over. You get to look at what you did last year, dump the bad, take the good, and start a whole new year, which is so exciting. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to build a business plan that works. So you've signed up for it, you're here, and it means to me that you want to learn. So let's go ahead and take advantage of the webinar by turning off your phone. I know it's hard. Close the door and give yourself lots of time to absorb and to learn. This will be a good thing for your year. Also, I want to point out that over in the control box, there's a question section, and I'm going to be asking you some questions. And I really love it when y'all participate. Really helps me, juices me up. It gets a good conversation going. So I would really like for you to do that. Also, wanted to point out to you, we sent you an email earlier that had had your workbook on it. And some people have been having trouble downloading that workbook. Many people have contacted me and I've sent the workbook back out to them. But if you are having that problem, or you just did not download the workbook but want to do it now, you see that I have it over there in the handout section for you. So that workbook is sitting over there for you, and you can go right ahead and take advantage of that if you would like to. So also remember that I love to give things away. I love information. I believe in education karma. I give away everything I can give away, and I will be giving you a free resource. So please stay tuned for that as well. All right. So here is your first opportunity to participate. This is what I would like to know. What is the one word that you would use to describe your past business plans? Your past business plans, what kind of things, what kind of words would you use, or a word you would use to describe past business plans? All right, I see a non existent, wishful. I like that one, Jack. Thank you very much. So, wishful, non existing, unexciting, minimal, not complete and too vague. Oh, Jennifer, in the drawer. I have had an in the drawer one before too. Ghost. Oh, that's an interesting word, Lisa. Semi productive. Well, that's better than totally non productive, Lauren. Haphazard. Ooh, chaos. Thank you, Olga. Chaos, not focused. How about generic? Gosh, y'all are coming up with some really good stuff. Thank you so much. And I would say that I believe I've had all of those as well. All right, so let me ask you this question. What is the hardest part of creating a business plan? Why do you think it's hard? What do you think is the hard part here? Go ahead and put your answers in. All right, so I'm getting started. Yeah, Cindy, getting started is tough. Oh, I've got another started out there, Philip. Thank you so much. Oh, getting focused. Okay. Knowing what to do. I'm also seeing that. Putting goals in order. Want to do everything at once. Yeah, I'm a doer too. Making it simple enough. Thank you for saying that, Lisa. We're going to talk about that today. Not knowing what your potential is. Gosh, that's so good, Dixie. Focusing on the old, tried and true without adding any Oh, that is so good. Thank you for that. Organizing the data. Yep. Cappy, got it. I totally understand that. Where to start? Not thinking big enough. Oh, I like that. You're always afraid if you think too big, you're going to fail. And so you don't want to do that. Totally understand that. Knowing what to do. Oh, those are all so great. So, what has stopped you? What has stopped you from executing a business plan? What has stopped you from executing a business plan? Go ahead and put those in and let me know what those are. All right. Cappy, I've got something in here that says you have no audio, but you've answered one of my questions recently, so I'm hoping you have it. Let me know if you don't. Sanders says, what is most important? The fear of failure. Oh, I so totally understand that. Time and resources, having too many options. There's actually something called the paradox of the all of a sudden I forgot what it is. Paradox of choice is what it's called. When you have so many options, sometimes you just completely shut down. Lack of a plan to execute. Oh, we even have a lazy ass. Oh, how cute. I'm not going to say your name. Lack of accountability, procrastination, getting too busy to take care of my goals. Gosh, y'all, those are all so many great things. Well, let me say to you, you are in the right place if you're just tired of doing the business the same way, which I think I just saw some of you indicating that. You're also in the right place if you want to grow your business, but you're not quite sure how. And you're in the right place if you just can't see how to grow your business without killing yourself or killing your relationships. And people say that to me all the time. They'll say, well, I don't want to be as big as so and so because I want a life. And very often that person they refer to has a better life than they have, which is really always very interesting. And you're in the right place. If you know there is a better way, you just not quite sure what it is, and you know there's a better way because you know agents that have balance and have great businesses, and you want to know how. You just want to know how they have done that. And here's the reality. The reality is, this business is hard. It is very hard. And, what makes it hard is this to me, well, there's lots of things, but one of them is the sense of panic all the time. I always had this sense of panic of, gosh, what if something doesn't close? Will I be able to make my mortgage? Or what if the market goes bad again? I have heard that so much from my coaching clients lately because many of us lived through the big downturn and now things have been going really well. And so everybody is really worried about it going bad again. And what if you have to face failure? And I think somebody's already said that. I think it was Jack that already said that. And because, one of the big barriers to doing a business plan is what if it doesn't work? If I don't do a plan, then I don't have to know I failed. And, it's this weird little paradox, isn't it? And when I think about all those things, the feel of failure, am I going to make my mortgage? Those are things that really, they just make me want to kill over just even thinking about them. And, I've lived it. I have lived it. Many of y'all know that I started my business in 1993 is where I started my business. And I often say this, I was not running toward the real estate business. I was really running away. I was running away from this oppressive culture. I worked for a company that had rules and regulations about how high your skirts could be and what color your hosiery was and how high your heels were. And there were regulations about how many pieces of jewelry you could wear, and earrings were two. And if anybody knows me, I like my jewelry. And so, it was this really oppressive culture. And, you know, real estate is the anti oppressive culture, right? And so that's what I was running from. But, there were so many naysayers. When I said, I'm going to go into the real estate business, there were a lot of people who just said to me, you don't want to do that. Why on earth would you do that? And then there was the ones that said, well, you're just not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. That is not a business for a nice Southern girl. You are not going to make it. And then there was the don't waste your education. Of course, that came from my mother. And then there was also the fact that I was a newlywed and had just married someone who was a real estate instructor. And he had told me that he did not date real estate agents because he did not want the lifestyle of a real estate agent. And so what does he do? He gets married to someone who decides to become a real estate agent. Ah, yeesh. And so there I was, and I felt so much pressure because of that. And, when you have naysayers like that, you just find yourself being desperate to be successful. And I mean, I was just desperate to prove people wrong. And because of that desperation, I did things. I stalked pregnant women in maternity stores. I would walk around, I would go into Babies R Us, and I would walk around and talk to pregnant women and hand them cards and tell them that they needed a new house. And when I got kicked out of Babies R Us, because I did a couple of times when I got kicked out of there, then I went and hung out at Home Depot and I hung around by the for sale by owner signs. And if there wasn't much going on there, I would go over to Lowe's. Those are the kinds of things I did from the desperation of it all. In other words, I pretty much worked like a pack mule. And I feel certain all of you know what I'm talking about. So if you can relate to this, how about giving me a high five and telling me yes over in the question thing so I don't feel so all alone in it? And oh, by the way, I didn't tell you that one time I was sitting in I was in a movie with my husband and I got paged and I left and showed a house and left him in a movie. Oh, yes, I did. Yep, I sure did. Angela said, no, you didn't. Yep, I sure did. So I totally get this level of work. And that level of work really came from being afraid that I couldn't pay the bills and being afraid that I would let my husband down and being afraid that I would miss an opportunity. I was so desperate that I would miss an opportunity. I wore my pager to bed. I'll never forget my husband leaning over one night to kiss me goodnight, and I had on my name tag, and I had on my pager on my pajamas, and my pager is dating how long ago that was, by the way. And he leaned over and to kiss me goodnight, and he said, "Okay, really, really." Somebody has said, "Poor Tom." And Krista said, "My husband would have driven me to go show that house." Oh, very cute. So, I mean, I think y'all know. I think y'all know what I'm talking about just based on everything I'm getting back from y'all. So, finally, what happened? This was really my breaking point. I decided to take a Saturday off. And so I get up and I go in, I get in the shower. And when I come out, my husband's gone. And I think, okay, he's probably going to get coffee or something. And he didn't come back and he didn't come back. And of course, this is before we all had cell phones on our waists. And he didn't come back. And by the time he came back about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was livid. And what I did not understand, what I did not realize at the time was he was so accustomed to me being gone that he had this Saturday routine worked out. He had a group of guys he went and had coffee with, and then he would go and have lunch with some folks, and then he would go over there and do that, and over there and do that. And I was totally unaware that he had this alternate life on Saturday outside of me. And that was really kind of my breaking point. And I thought, you know what? This is stupid. This is just stupid working like this. And so I went to my broker in charge and I said, you know what? I have got to do better. I have got to have a better life. This life is too hard not to do it better. And so she handed me a business plan format. And I have to say I hated it. I hated every second of it. And the reason I hated it is because it was all mathematical. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you want to make X and your average commission is Y, then you have to sell Z and or that kind of thing. I just hated it. And I finished it because my broker believed in it, so I would believe in it too. But it went into the drawer, like we heard earlier about the drawer stuff. That's where it went. And I reflect back on it now and I realize that the problem was it just did not reflect who I am and my values and the way I saw the real estate business. It didn't reflect any of that. It needed to have me and my business principles involved in the business plan formula for it to work. So I wanted a formula that worked. And I started looking and studying and I did all kinds of things. I kept having, and I started getting success, right? And I started having people knock on my door and ask me how I did things. And pretty soon I was holding classes on business planning. And then before you knew it, I was holding whole workshops on business planning. And so I have been a student of business planning for decades. And I have watched agents and I have studied and I have made sure that I understood what worked and what didn't. And when all got said and done, I learned a whole bunch. I documented it and I created something I call a strategic year. And I tag this by saying creating a business that you intended because, we all came into the real estate business wanting certain things out of life. So I'm going to be showing you the model of that today. That's what I'm going to be doing is showing you that model, giving you an overview of the model that I created from all of this work. Now, let me say to you that if you want to use the workbook, and again, we sent you an email and then we went, whoops, we goofed and we sent you another email with one on it and then we loaded it over here. So if you want to use the workbook, this is when you need to pull it out because this is when we're going to be getting starting some information on it and getting very actionable around it. So now is the time to do that. All right, everybody with me? Great. So one of the things I learned in all of this studying and is that there are 5 stages of the real estate business that I have identified, and I would like to talk about those. And I think it sets a really good foundation for business planning. The first stage is what I call the startup stage. And the startup stage is when you're brand new and you are a sponge. You are just learning everything you can and you are hunting for that first deal as hard as you can go. And you just want to get started and you just want to start experiencing some success. You're so hungry for it. You're looking for the transaction is what you're doing. When you get to stage number 2, you're really kind of in this urgency stage because you've learned a lot. You've started selling things, but it takes a lot longer for you to get everything into closing and because you're just not as good at it. It takes you 2 hours to do a CMA instead of a half an hour to do a CMA. And so you have to work so hard and you're so desperate to show success. And, in stage 1 and stage 2, you're not making enough money to survive. You don't get there until you get to stage 3. And stage 3 is your break even stage. And at that break even stage, you're making enough money, but you are on a roller coaster. You are doing the traditional work to get prospects. You get prospects, you stop working to get more prospects because you're so desperate to get these closed. And then when you get to closing, there you are again with no prospects. And you're looking at the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks with absolutely nothing coming to you because you neglected your pipeline. And so that break even stage is a very tricky place. However, stage 4 is where you've actually gotten where you're making money. You're making more money than is going out. It's a wonderful place, except for you are still totally focused on the transaction, just the transaction. And because you're focused on the transaction, a lot of times you're ignoring lots of other things. You're ignoring your family, you're ignoring your friends, you're ignoring your taxes, you're ignoring those things. And, I say taxes because years ago I was at a national conference. I was at a Coldwell Banker conference in San Francisco, and we were doing the big national awards. And I was sitting at the table beside this woman who got called up with this really big award. And it was huge. She was like a rock star. And when she came back and sat down from getting that award, she had tears she had tears running down her face. And I leaned over and I said, "Congratulations. You deserve to be emotional." I was really trying to give her, I was really trying to soothe her emotions by saying, "Girl, you deserve this." And she looked at me and she said, "People don't know that I'm broke." And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "I have made all of this money, but the IRS has taken everything." I will never forget her. I remember it like it was yesterday. And it's because she was just so focused on every transaction that she ignored everything else in her life. And so it is that place from going from stage 4 to stage 5. Stage 5 is where you're being strategic. Stage 5 is where you're no longer chasing the money. See, stage 1 through stage 4, you're only focusing on the transaction. Where's the next transaction? Where's the next paycheck? Where is all that coming from? And stage 5 is where you're focusing on what you want. And by the way, money's not it. It's other things, what money can get you, but money is rarely it. And you go to being strategic. And that is the place that we all want to be. And when you look at those people that you see that are being very successful and they seem to have a really balanced life, they're living in that stage 5. They're living in that stage 5, and it's because they're working a plan and they're not chasing transactions, they're chasing their plan. So, with that being said, about the 5 stages, I want to go through a couple of myths and then I'm going to lay this structure out for you. There's a couple of myths that I want to make sure that you know. One is we sell houses. That is a myth. We do not sell houses. What do we sell, by the way? We sell ourselves. We sell our service package. By the way, if you've got your workbook, that's the blank on number 1 is that we sell our service package. We sell ourselves. And you know what? I find that this is really important to accept and to grab. I've just been spending a lot of time with a business partner of mine who is an expert in marketing with real estate agents. And we did a survey back at the end in mid-November where we sent it out to over 10,000 real estate agents trying to understand what you wanted and what you needed. And one of the things we heard very clearly is we need to understand how to sell our value. Understanding that we don't sell houses, we sell ourselves. So, how do we sell ourselves? By the way, I have a blog coming out on Tuesday that shows you the results of that survey. So, make sure to look out for that. And so, we started doing a lot of investigation about how to sell yourself. More to come about that. The other myth is you just need to know your numbers. If you just know your numbers, all is good. And look, I love numbers. I am a numbers person. I'll be the first one to tell you. And I really believe that real estate is a numbers driven thing. If you talk to enough people, the percentage will work for you. But business planning is not like that. Business planning, you need to know your numbers. But the other thing that you need to know is that you need to know, have a vision, a value, an understanding of what you want. As a result, here's what we're going to learn. I'm going to show you the model. I'm going to show you what the components are, and I'm going to show you how this model can guide your process. Are you ready? All right, so here's the model. And before I show it to you, let me say to you, as soon as I show it to you, some people get overwhelmed because it's busy. Don't worry about it. I'm going to bring it down for you. All right, there it is. There is the model for a strategic year. I'm going to break down each one of these components for you, but let me just kind of give you an overview. The two main pieces to it are at the left, where you are right now. What's going on with you right now? What is the state of your business? Then we're going to take you all the way over to the right, where we're going to talk about what your vision is. What do you want? What are you trying to accomplish in your dreams? What does that look like? Those are the two big pieces of a business plan: assessing where you are, understanding where you want to be. And then there's the middle. The middle is the plan. The middle is how you get from where you are to where you want to be, including what are the things that are going to get in my way, like the barriers. Then, in addition, we have some supporting players that we need to bring in, and there's some supporting activities. Again, I'm going to break all this down for you, and then we're going to turn around and come back to it in the whole. And we are going to, whole would be WHOLE, and then all of it will come together. All right, so let's go ahead and start with your vision. Yep, I'm going all the way over to the right instead of to the left. So the big why is what this is. It is understanding the question, what do you want? What do you want? And I can tell you that I ask that question a lot to people, and I get very commonly people do one of two things. They either change the subject because they don't want to tell me what they want, and they don't want to tell me what they want because they don't know what they want. They go into telling me what I call the don't wants. So they tell me what the don't wants are all the time. And I really think that's because nobody allows themselves to think about the want, what they want. They're so frightened of claiming it. That's what I really think that's about. Or people tell me money. They give me a money figure. Your job in having a successful business plan is understanding the why you're doing this, what it is that you want. I recently talked about in a blog about somebody who I worked with several years ago who had several children. He worked very hard, but just was not making it. He was not making enough for he and his family to live on. And, but he came to work 6 days a week. And when we really started digging down on the why and really trying to understand what it was that he wanted, it was all about family. It's all about his family and other people's families. He wanted to help people's families with their home, their biggest investment, the place that they felt safe. And he wanted to help his family. He wanted to give his family those things that they deserved. And once he clued in on that, that was the driver. That was the driver. And this driver is really important. And like I said, it's not the money. It just isn't the money. But when you find the why, when you really hook into that, it is the reason that you prospect. It is the reason why you'll do something uncomfortable. You see, right now, if you don't know your why, and I ask you to go and do something like knock on doors or for sale by owners, which most people cringe at me even saying that or suggesting that, which is totally outside the vast majority of people's comfort zone, you wouldn't do it. But if you have your why firmly established, then you will do it. You will understand the reason why you're doing it, and it will motivate you for going and doing those things. Finding your why can be hard. Some of you immediately go, nope, I know what it is. But a lot of people, it's really, really hard to find that why. You're afraid to allow yourself to dream. You're afraid to even let it enter your consciousness. By the way, the giveaway that I am sending you is that I have some worksheets on helping you find your why, and that's what I'm going to be sending you after this webinar so you can go to work on finding your why. So I am going to be sending you those, okay? So, why really, really important. Let's go to where you are. This is an up close and personal analysis of what's going on in your business. And I get very tickled. And I say tickled, I'm really kind of amazed because I run every coaching client through a business analysis. And I am always fascinated at how many people don't know about their business and how many people after they finish the business analysis will say to me, I had no idea that's where I was getting my business from. And it's because they're in the trees. They're just sitting there in the trees and they cannot see anything out and around it. And so you've got to take a really good hard look at where you are. Things like, what am I good at? Where do I need to improve? What are the things that you're doing that you really need to dump? What are the things that you're doing well that you need to do weller? Well, there's not a word weller, but you need to do much, much better. Those are the things that you need to take a good hard look at. And when you take a good hard look at where you are and you discover where your vision is, where you want to be, right here, that space in the middle is what we call in the coaching biz a gap. That's what we call that in the coaching business, is a big old gap. And that gap is really important because it tells us how far we are from where we are to where we want to be. Now, the big question is, what goes in that gap? What is the thing that is going to compel us or propel us from our current situation all the way over to where we want to be? And that would be a plan. This is where your business plan fills in. This is what happens. A business plan has these 4 elements to it. It has goals. It has strategies. It has a map affiliated with it, and it has actions. Those are the 4 components of a business plan. And I did a Facebook Live yesterday, which was a whole bunch of fun, by the way. I was doing a Facebook Live yesterday, and one of the questions that I was answering that I had gotten was that this person writes goals. And his name is Scott, and he said, I write goals, but then nothing ever happens. And that's right, because you can't just write goals. There's these other supporting players, things like the strategies, the hows are you going to do it, and then, of course, the implementation of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down each one of these pieces of a plan, and we're going to start with goal structure. Now, many of you have heard the structure commonly called SMART goals. And I made the decision that I was going to go ahead and use that because it is something that's commonly known and heard of. And so I'm going to go ahead and just use that. So let's go ahead and look at goals from this. It is specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and timely is what SMART stands for. Okay. So is what the SMART stands for. Oh, I just realized that if you're following the workbook and there is a blank that says the most important component of establishing a business is your vision, is what the answer to that is. It is your vision. All right. So let's get back to goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So what exactly does that mean? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example and I'm going to break it down. So here are some examples of some goals. I receive 3 referrals per month. I close 2 referrals per month. I take 2 weekends off per month. 70% of my business is listings. Those are just 3 examples of goals. But let's break them down and let me show you what it means to follow the SMART structure. Here we have, I receive 3 referrals per month. This is specific. This makes it very specific. 3. It has a number. There is an expression out there that says that A goal without a number is just a slogan. So a goal has to have a number. The next one is that it's measurable. Can I measure I receive 3 referrals per month? Sure, I can. I can look at the end of the month and I can say, you know what? I got 3 referrals. Perfect. That's measurable. Obtainable. Is this obtainable? Well, the question I have is are there other people who do this? Well, sure. There's lots of people who get 3 referrals per month. There's tons of people who do that. And so does that make it obtainable? Yes. Now, let me say this too, that it's really, well, let me go to realistic. Is this realistic? Yes, it's realistic. So, your goals have to have some tension to them. They have to have a little bit of tension to them. What do I mean by that? And what I mean by that is, and I'm going to use my very favorite topic, and that would be weight, which is something that I think a lot of people can identify with, is setting goals for your weight. And let's say that I set a goal that I was going to lose 10 pounds by January 3rd. Well, that is specific, it's timely, it's right, but is it obtainable? Is it realistic? That would basically be 10 pounds in the next 6 days. Yeah, not really realistic, right? And if I set a goal that is too tight on it's just not realistic, it probably can't happen, then instead of motivating me, it has a good chance of demotivating me. But on the other hand, if I had set a goal of I'm going to lose 10 pounds by January 3rd, 2018, so another year and 6 days from now, then guess what? It would demotivate me again because it's just so obtainable that it just, I can eat my way through New Year's and not worry about it because I got plenty of time. So one of the things about your goals is they have to have some tension to them. They can't be too easy. They can't be too hard. They got to be just right. That has to have that, ooh, I need to change my behavior now, but I can get this done. It is realistic that I can get this done. So you have to find that in between. And by the way, if you're sitting there wondering, okay, what is that? What is that number? What does that look like? I have a blog that I wrote probably last month. I've been on this jag about business planning probably about a month ago, called the Prospecting Formula. So you can go back to my website, thestrategicagent.com, and it's called the Prospecting Formula. And it actually gives you a formula of, okay, if I want to make this much money, this is what I'm going to have to do. In fact, I will make sure that when we send you a link to the giveaway, that I'll also link that blog in there, because it sends you right through the formula of figuring out what that number is for you. So look out for that as well. And of course, timely, there has to be time on a goal. All right, so that's how goals are created. And even though the SMART acronym is perfectly sufficient, you have to remember about this tension thing, that they really have to make you go, ooh, 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 I got to get on with that without being so big that it demotivates you. All right, now let's talk about strategies. Now, many people stop at goals, and that's where the problem comes. Strategies are your how. How am I going to reach those goals? So the how to. So let me give you a kind of an example. Again, here we are, a documented plan on how to achieve your goals. But let me give you an example. I receive 4 referrals per month. What strategies might I use to get to those 4 referrals a month? Well, here are some that I picked. And they were things like create a system that communicates consistently with my sphere of influence. All right, great. If I don't have one like that, then I need to create one. Then my next strategy is going to be implement the system that communicates consistently with my sphere of influence. And then my third strategy would be to increase the size of my sphere of influence. And these are three great strategies for how to receive 4 referrals a month. Okay. So these are just, really good how to's. And you can write down these how to's, but, I have to tell you, it's great, but it's not good enough. And a lot of people stop here. They do their goal, and a lot of people stop and they don't do strategies. But some of you go ahead and do strategies, right? Which are really good too. But there's one more step that really gives us some juice, and it's called the map, or the strategic map, as I call it. Let's talk about what a strategic map is. It is a step-by-step process of a strategy, and it provides the actions to complete the strategy, and it provides a path. And if you're following me on my workbook, that is the fill in the blanks on the last page of the SMART goals. So a strategic map shows you the step-by-step process of the strategy and provides the actions to complete the strategy and provides a path. You see back here, we gave you what the strategies are, but no steps on how to do it. This is something that I find is the difference right here between stage 4 and stage 5, because what happens so often is people recreate the wheel constantly. Hey, I used to do it all the time. I'll never forget. Every time I got a listing opportunity, I would walk into this room in my office that had all these flyers, and I would stand there and go, yeah, I think maybe I'll take that flyer and that flyer and that flyer. And however I happened to grab them is how they went into the folder, which meant that's how I explained it to someone, which means I recreated the wheel every stinking time something happened, every event. And you know what? It takes too much time. It takes too much time. You have to have a map. You have to have predefined steps of how to fulfill a strategy. So let me give you another example. Let's say that my goal, as I've said, is 4 referrals a month. So what happens when I get a referral? What do I do? What do I do? Well, okay, what do I do? And a map would show me, okay, as soon as I get a referral, step A, I would do that, B, I would do that, C, I would do that. What is the process that I do immediately after? All right, here is a blank map. This is one of the maps from a strategic year. And so strategy 1 was to create a system that communicates consistently with my sphere of influence. So here's a structure for how to create that map. So you'll see at the top that there are 3 buckets, A, B, and C. I believe that you take your sphere of influence and you divide them into 3 pieces. The A piece are the people who are out there referring your business to people. The B bucket are people who have used your services but have not referred you to anyone. And the C bucket are people who know or know of you in a favorable light, but they have never used your services, nor have they ever referred you. And the reason there are errors up, you know what I'm saying, ARROW up there, is because I'm trying to get my C people to become my B people and my B people to become my A people. Now, is it possible my C person is going to become my A person? Sure, it is. However, more than likely, a C person is going to use your services before they refer your services. And so below that, you see the 3 columns. Quarterly, what am I going to do for my A's? What am I going to do for my B's? What am I going to do for my C's? Monthly, what am I going to do for my A's, B's, and C's, and so on. And you develop this plan so you know every month, this is what I do for my A's, this is what I do for my B's and my C's, and you have a script to follow. You don't have to rethink it or replan it every month, because if you have to replan this every month, then what is going to happen is you aren't going to do it. It's just that simple. If you have to recreate the wheel every time an event happens, your business is going to become laborious, and you're not going to have nearly the momentum than if you have a map. There's maps for all kinds of things. There's maps for when you get a referral. There's maps for when you meet a new contact. There's maps for, um, a new prospect. There's just, gosh, there's so much that you could just go ahead and lay out and you just follow. I have a closing map, for example. When I come in from a closing, this is exactly what I do and when I do it and why I do it. And I don't have to rethink it. It's just done. The map is everything to a business plan. All right, your next piece of your plan. And by the way, I'm going to have a Q&A when we get to the end. So if you have some questions, and I find maps are one of those places that people have questions, if you have some, we'll be able to talk about them there. All right, so action plan. And this is just as true as it gets. Without consistent daily execution, plans fail. It's just as simple as it can be. And daily execution is hard, 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 hard. I know it is. It takes so much forethought and discipline and structure. And structure is one of those things. Most of us have started in the real estate profession because we did not want structure. And yet, structure is what provides freedom to us. It is so counterintuitive, but it is so true. Many of you have heard me talk about Slay the roller coaster, which is something I took on last summer. I just got so tired of working with people who were just on this dang roller coaster. And so I went back and I started looking at the psychology of it all. Many of you know that I'm a psychologist by education. And so I always go and I study the human condition. Why is it that we get on the roller coaster? Why is it that we write these to-do lists and then never do them? Why is it that those things happen? And so I went, and I've got tons of material out there about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in just a second, but it's consistent daily action. All right, that's the plan. Now let's talk about the barriers, because one of the things, again, back to psychology, that psychologists tell us is that anytime that you're working a plan, if you will go ahead and predetermine the barriers before you start, then the barrier will not be nearly as difficult. What is a barrier? A barrier is something that prevents the execution of your plan. And if you identify it and remove it, the barrier loses its power. So what are some barriers that we commonly see? Well, we commonly see money. That's a common barrier, or skill. Let me give you an idea. I've seen people who will say, I'm going to do farming. I'm going to do a geographic farm. I've identified a farm. It's got 500 people in it. I'm going to send them something every month for the next year. And yet they have no marketing budget. Okay, so money would be a problem with that strategy. And you might say, okay, so what should we do? Well, you could take it down from 500 to 250 and see if that worked in your budget. Or you can say, yeah, I got no budget. That means you might be walking out pieces, right? You could change your strategies to say, okay, I'm going to walk the neighborhood once a month and hand things to people. Or you could say, yeah, I got a time problem too. Well, walking's not going to work. And so we might just need to dump the geographic farming and start with something else that is not as money or labor intensive, for example. Or I'm going to change my business into a listing business, for example. Okay, so that would be another really good one. And that's great. But what if you don't have a good listing presentation? That would be a barrier. So how do you take care of that barrier? Well, you take care of that barrier by becoming masterful at a listing presentation, for example. Okay. That's how you take care of that. Those are barriers, but identifying them up front is the magic. Now let's talk about the supporting activities to your business plan. And let's start with measurement. So if you've ever read the book Good to Great, and it's a fantastic book, and it was a big study on all of these good companies versus these great companies. And one of the things that they determined is that the Good companies had lots of measurement. The great companies had one measurement. They determined the measurement that drove everything else. They call it the economic denominator. It's a number in your business that you focus on, and it drives all the other numbers. Do you know what yours is? Very often real estate agents, we do income, or we talk about closed transactions, or volume, or net, or gross, or we have all of these things that we're always measuring, and some of us don't measure at all because we don't want to know. But measurement is a very important piece of being a business owner, which you are. And when you get into stage 5, you embrace the idea of being a business owner. And so measurement is part of that. So you have to determine what is the number that drives the other numbers. What is the number that drives the other numbers? I find that mine was appointments per week, right? So if I got 2 appointments per week, then it drove all the rest of my numbers. But that's a big topic right there. So, what is your measurement? The next supporting services, is understanding your budget, right? This is where I find that a lot of agents just struggle, right? And so many people, they get a commission check and they put it straight into their personal account. Well, business owners, stage 5 people, put it into their business account. And their business has a budget, and their business has tracking. And then they pay themselves personal money. They pay themselves a salary, and they set aside money for their taxes. They set aside money for their taxes. That's how they work it. Many, many, many people have done spreadsheets and all these things for real estate agents. I'm just saying to you, from a philosophical conversation, there really are these 3 buckets that you have to understand, you have to have tracking for, and you have to have budgeting for. And last but not least, my very favorite topic, which is your skill set. And we talked about it just a second ago. If you say, I want to become masterful at listings this year, but you don't have a good listing presentation, that is where a skill set comes in. Because I can assure you, after years of studying real estate agents, that if you do not feel competent with a skill, you are not going to have the confidence to go out and try to get that business. People who do not feel competent at a listing presentation are not going to put effort into finding opportunities for listing presentations. I know this for sure. I mean, for sure. So I am going to show you a list of and this is a short list. I mean, there's lots of things that you need to learn. I'm sorry, you heard me hesitate. I was just going in and looking at some of the things. Oh, yes. So Olga just wrote in about how much she loves Slay the Roller Coaster. Thank you, Olga. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit more. Okay, so here are some of the examples. So, for example, overcoming objections. That's a skill you have to have. Preventing objections, listing presentation, agency presentations, buyer presentations, etc. And don't let this scare you. This is learnable things. These are learnable things. But when you develop your business plan and you look at it, you're going to have to ask yourself, where do I need to learn new skills? And then prioritize them. Pick 3 new skills that you need to learn, focus on that until you get your confidence built with that, and then go back for some more. That is how you build your skill set. But first, the business plan informs what you need to learn. See how all that works? It just is perfect the way it works. All right, so here it is again in all of its glory. So I know I have just whizzed you through that, but let me ask you this question. It is December something, maybe 29th. Yeah, I'm in that mode of losing time. And I know that many of us are thinking about 2017. So I suspect you showed up today because you are ready to do a business plan. You're ready to have a really fantastic 2017. You may have had a fantastic 2016, but there's things that you want to change. More than likely, you want to go from being a slave to being free and wealthy, like you were promised by the real estate profession, because the real estate profession did indeed promise you that. And you want to discover this life that you intended when you got into the real estate business. You want to go to stage 5 and you want to stay there, right? You want to stay there. So you have a couple of options. Option number 1 is you can go out and develop your business plan. You can spend some time developing the structure for yourself, or you can get one that is already proven. And if you're like me at all, you really want you don't want to spend your time on the creation of it when you're in the mode of doing. You really want the plan. And the plan is a game changer if you have the structure. And so what I want to do is I want to give you some information about a strategic year, because this isn't theory. All of this I've given you, it has helped hundreds of agents. We have worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And so if you want to change your business, I want to tell you a little bit about the information about a strategic year. All right, so what is this? This is a step-by-step plan, and it absolutely guides you through this strategic year model. How does it do that? Well, there's 17 training videos, and it's 100% online and on demand. What does that mean? That means if you're like me and you get up at 4 a.m., you can do it then. You don't have to wait for anything. It is there for you when you want it, and it's there forever. You have lifetime access to this program. That's the way it looks when it comes. You can do it on your tablet, you can do it on your computer, but it's sitting out there and it's broken down into modules. Again, they're training videos. There's also a 46-page guidebook. This is where you're actually going to build your plan. And it is got everything you need in it to take yourself through it. So let me give you an example of what that workbook looks like. So there's a whole section on discovering your vision. You remember when we talked about that earlier, about how important it is? There's a whole workbook section on how to do that and how to put your vision into action. There's also the complete guide for a business analysis. This is exactly what I use on private coaching clients, on how to give yourself a really good snapshot about what your business looks like. That is what you'll be getting, is that complete business analysis. Also, we'll be giving you the goal worksheets and, more importantly, the maps, all of the maps that you're going to need. And we give you outlines for many of those maps to go ahead and get you started, so you don't have to spend time on creating maps. They're laid out there for you. You also get Slay the Roller Coaster as part of this program. So Slay the Roller Coaster comes with it too. And in Slay the Roller Coaster, you learn the psychology behind productivity and learn how to make the absolute most out of every day, and how to work your top priority systems. And then also, as soon as you go into Slay the Roller Coaster, you're getting a message from me every day for 30 days that is there to motivate you and remind you about what your intention is for the day. I'm very, very, very proud of this, of Slay the Roller Coaster. I got a fantastic testimonial just yesterday on it. The formula, right there, that is. You're also going to get a whole section on barriers. What are the main barriers and how do you go around it? So we lay out a plan for each one of the barriers. So all of that workbook, all 46 pages of it, the 17 training videos, and all of it is available right now. And it is, again, lifetime. What does that mean? There's no deadline on it. It's going to be out there for you whenever you want it. It will be back out there for you next year. It will be sitting there waiting for you. It will be your partner. It will be your tool. By the way, I've gotten some great testimonials on it. This one I just loved because his business went up 63% from using the business plan. But more importantly, he said, the world one day is gone, the exhaustion is gone, the spinning of my wheels is gone. Love, love, love that. This is a testimonial I got yesterday, which I was just thrilled with, and how excited she is about starting her new year and having the very best year. Thank you so much, Carolyn. So, just to give you some idea of what this looks like, in the first module, we give you an overview of business planning. Then we go through the stages of the real estate business, except we go through them in quite a bit of detail. I know I kind of glided through them a minute ago, but you go through them in a whole bunch of detail. We also go back through the business model in a lot more detail as well. Then we start breaking it down, and we have several sections on how to create a vision, including several exercises on how to learn to look at the future in an experiential way, and how to take that vision and apply it to your daily life so you don't forget it. It's very there and it's driving you toward your goal. This is all about your mojo, getting your momentum going. This is where it all happens. Then we guide you through the business analysis, not just doing the business analysis, but evaluating the business analysis and how to take the gems out of it and start building a business plan around it. Then, of course, we go into the business plan and we go all through creating goals. I created three avatars, for lack of a better word, three avatars, and we take it through what their visions are, how they're going to create goals, why they created goals that way. We go through a bit of a goal workshop for you so you can learn. And by the way, these are lifelong skills that will last you a lifetime. Then we'll take you through, then we take you through the strategies, exactly how to set up strategies, and all the way through the mapping. And I take those core maps and I lay those core maps out for you. And that is huge. If somebody had ever done that for me, my learning curve would have been desperately different in the real estate business if somebody had just laid those maps out for me. All right. So then we go through barriers and we go through the barrier worksheets and show you how to get rid of the barriers. We go into the supporting activities and show you exactly, I give you a structure for budgeting. We talk about how to measure, and I give you a worksheet to use weekly so you can measure weekly. And we go all the way through some of this. We talk about the skills and how to prioritize the skills. So I think it's a really good comprehensive way to look at these supporting activities. So again, all training videos available now, 100% online, training videos, 48-page workbook. It's all there and ready for you to start. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, I like it, but how much is it? And let me say this to you. I am such a real estate agent. I mean, I love real estate agents. I am a real estate agent and I'm very protective of real estate agents. And all the gurus that talk about how you present pricing tell me I'm supposed to give you this big total value. I'm supposed to say this by itself is blah blah blah, and this by itself is blah blah blah, and this by itself is blah blah blah. But honestly, I have to say, how on earth do you take 20 years of studying business planning, of helping agents do business planning, of going back to school? I mean, how do you take all of that and give value to it? I don't know how you do that. I just don't know how you do that. So I can't give you this big total value kind of statement. This is what I know for sure, though. I know how hard it is having an education budget for a real estate agent. And I know how hard it is that you feel like you're nickel and dimed all the time. And so I am always determined that I am going to make these things as reasonable as possible. And there are many, many, many experts who I have reached out to mentor me in my business who say, you are crazy for selling these things for what you sell them for. It is ridiculously cheap. So the price of this is $167. And remember, that is for everything that I've described. But I'm doing an end of year special and I'm very excited about it because you can purchase it right now, $127. I mean, that is a steal. It is. It really, 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 really is. And I I'm just so excited about that price for you because I think given what it is, it's a really, really, really solid price. And, I even juiced it up by saying, you know what? I know it's right after Christmas. I know it's right after Christmas. So we'll do a three payment plan for you as well. And to make it easier, if that makes it any easier, I'm delighted to do it because I feel so strongly about this. So, three payment plan of $45 or the one-time payment of $127. And I have to say that this was really interesting. I did this webinar, I don't know, a month ago or so, and I got a question, and the question was, can I call you for help? And I thought, oh, yeesh. But then I started thinking about it, and it started just germinating in me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make this offer. This is the offer I'm going to make you. And this is the offer for right now. I mean, this puppy closes on December 31st. And what I mean by that is the opportunity for this closes. But here's the deal. I will do a personal business plan review. You can send me your business plan. I will look at your business plan and I will send you back notes on your business plan. That is only good until January 31st. That's it. January 31st. You have to have your business plan to me by January 31st for me to do that. Why am I putting that on there? Because I want to motivate you to get this plan done is the reason I'm putting it like that. So I will do that. I'm throwing that bonus in. So how do you order? How do you get it? Well, you can go to astrategicyear.com. This is only available. The $127, the three payment plan, and the business plan review is only available for those people who purchase it before December 31st. The program you will have lifetime access to. The program you will have lifetime access to. So, and by the way, some of you are going, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm not really sure if I should do this. I totally understand it. So I'm throwing one more thing in. Bam, you got a 30-day money back guarantee. I will, no questions asked, give you all your money back from 30 days from the day that you purchased it. If you write me an email and say, Joe, I want a refund, I'll give you the refund and I will not say boo to you about it. And so please understand that is out there and available for you as well. Okay, here we are. What are your questions? Okay, so I'm looking. Oh, we had a couple of people with that lost some connections. They said it's windy. I keep flipping back and forth. Yep, it's windy out here too. What if we have questions about using the system Angela has put in? Yeah, so we have support. We have support at thestrategicagent.com. And they're very, very responsive. So we do have support. And very often people will send emails to me as well, but I do send them over to support because they're a lot smarter than I am. All right. So, Olga, thank you. It's sunny, nice and sunny in Anger. It's clouding up and windy in North Raleigh. All right. What other kinds of questions do you have? All right, I'm not getting any. Wow, usually I have tons and tons of questions. So I either did a really, really good job, because that's always possible, isn't it? All right, so no questions are coming in. Okay, wait a second. I got one. Yeah, so we have a question about this process. All right. So this the way I designed this program is, and the question is, will it take me a long time? Do I have to sit there a long time? Do I have to sit out several days to take it? How does this work? Yeah, everybody's schedule is so busy that the way I designed this was in short little bursts of videos. I think the longest one is 33 minutes. And the reason that I did that is because of exactly the problem. We only have these little bits of time to do it. And so I wanted to make sure that I could get everybody in and out of a section and learning a little bit each day. And so that's the why I designed it the way I designed it. All right. So, and that's it. I don't have any more questions, I don't think. All right. And I am 10 minutes over. I am 10 minutes over. Oh, yeah. So Angela says, okay, we're all kind of glazed and overwhelmed. I'm so sorry if I did that to you. I sometimes deliver too much, don't I? Can you give me an example of what we would see with the tutorial videos? Yes, I can send you an example of that, Jennifer, but essentially what it looks like is that you will see a screen very similar to what you're seeing right here. And you'll hear my voice. But what I chose to do was I chose to spend all of the space on the information, and then you can hear me guiding you through it. You can hear me guiding you through it. So it's what it looks like. All right. And again, you can order it. If you don't like it, you can return it right back. Okay. All right. So I hear lots of thank you very muches. And look for the email. And by the way, I'm going to be sending you the replay as well. So you can look at it again if you would like to. And so I will be sending you that as well. So look for the email with the replay link. Look for the email with the giveaway on it. Okay. All right, guys, I really appreciate you spending time with me this afternoon. It's been great. It's been fun. I'm seeing lots of thank yous and happy New Year's and happy New Year to all of you, too. I'm very excited for your 2017. All right, guys, have a great day.